We make a motion to approve, move it to the town board.
Okay, Kathy makes the motion to move forward to the board for Studebaker Acres.
I'll second that motion.
Carol seconds it. Any more discussion on this? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Lundberg Farms final plat.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jamie and Tanya Lundberg have made application for a final plat. It's in Section 1 at 5314 60th Street. It's 2 lots on a total of 19.95 acres. And the lots will directly access County Road 13 60th Street. Essentially, they're just moving the lot lines around. Again, this is one of these where if we approve the new system, we could do this administratively. It's a pretty simple, really change of the boundary line between the 2 lots. And you had recommended the preliminary plat at your July 6th meeting. Again, really not anything to report here. So, yeah, we would recommend favorably with the 6 conditions within the report.
Okay, any discussion on this?
Again, I would make a motion to approve and move it to the board for the Lundbergs.
I'll second that.
Kathy makes the motion and Cheryl seconds. To approve. Any more discussion? Questions? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Sketch plan review, Scott Mueller, 5-lot subdivision, section 3, 65th Street.
Yes, Madam Chair, we've got a sketch plan review that's been requested by Scott Mueller. It's located on 65th Street between 70th Avenue and the Worm River. Property is within section 3, and the subdivision consists of 5 lots and 1 outlot on a total of 75 acres. Lots will all access 65th Street. An extension of 65th Street will be constructed ending in a cul-de-sac. Again, the cul-de-sac would be in the River Conservation District. Property is guided and zoned for river conservation and agriculture conservation. The 1 parcel is adjacent to the river, is zoned the river conservation, and the other parcel is zoned agricultural conservation. The west portion of the subject site is within the Weldon Scenic River, so it's the west and east side of these lots. Subdivision will feature 5 lots. It indicates within the report the sizing of those lots. Going through the 1 portion that's in the River Conservation District, the lots 3, 4, and 5 are all 10 acres or more in size. The sketch plan does not indicate contiguous buildable areas above the ordinary high water level. That information required, but they do meet the minimum lot size. We have an adequate lot width, except for if you look at the bottom of page 3, the front lot line width of lot 3 is at 316 feet, and lot 4 at 282 feet, and not compliant with the 330 feet of the front lot line. I know that we've just discussed that as far as the front lot line. This is the River Conservation District. This precedes my being here. I assume this came from a DNR model ordinance. I haven't done research on that. But again, if we wanted to change, and we're not proposing as part of our changes doing anything to the River Conservation District, we'd keep it at that 330. And I haven't inquired with the DNR if they'd even allow us to do that, or if they would recommend that we don't. So again, we're not touching the River Conservation District. But those 2 lots would not meet those minimum lot widths. Looking at the ones in the Agriculture Conservation District, though, the lots 1 and 2 do meet and exceed all the lot requirements. Density, the density requirement is compliant. Access, as I said, there would be extension of 65th Street, which would end at the cul-de-sac. Again, we can't allow that cul-de-sac, whether the town board in a situation with a new situation. Now, the Woods Push lot was an existing turnaround for one lot, and they allowed it for that second lot. But when we've got a brand-new subdivision, whether they would allow that, or whether the town board would agree to that, or, you know, planning commission certainly comment on that. I guess I don't think that we should start varying from those River Conservation District requirements for a brand-new situation. Again, if we had an existing situation like Woods Push, I can deal with it, but in this particular case, I think we're violating our ordinance and we have to do a variance to that.
Why are you saying that it's not an existing situation? There's a turnaround there now in that one properties. I just want to understand your thinking on that, because there's already a turnaround in that driveway of the home that's on that road.
But is it where you're proposing it?
No, I mean, that's what I'm asking though. There's already a turnaround on that road. It's a dead-end road.
Right, but you're creating a new cul-de-sac in a new location. This, where Woods Push was, it just was in a matter of feet from where it currently is to serve that existing home. So again, you're creating a new situation. So the issues that at least staff has pointed out that lot A is created, there's a small outlet, or lot, that would create issues long-term for the township. That goes tax forfeiture. You'd end up with that lot. It should be incorporated with lot 5. Cul-de-sac, the length of the dead-end roadway would not be allowed in the River Conservation District. Again, one thing, just to go back, they are proposing a length of about 2,628 feet of that cul-de-sac from the intersection, whereas a maximum is allowed at 1,400. So again, I know the town board, when they discussed lengths of cul-de-sacs, we do have one of our town board members is on the fire board, or fire, part of the fire group, and he did express some concerns with that. If you got a long dead end, 2,600 feet, that again is difficult. There's trees that go down or something that goes down and they don't have access in terms of a fire or whatever. And you don't have an outlet to another street, that's an issue. Number 3, the front lot line width of lot 3 at 316 feet and lot 4 at 282 feet do not meet the 330 feet required in the RC2, River Conservation District. And there's also some state of Minnesota property that access should be preserved to. If you look down, I'll just grab this again. In this portion of, there's a cul-de-sac that comes down for the state of Minnesota property. There is an easement right now that goes down into that property, and that would have to be preserved too. That's part of this. So we essentially staff sees some fairly significant issues with this, the way it's currently designed. Not saying that a subdivision couldn't work here, but I think we need to send Scott and Ellen back and come up with some different design that meets the requirements.
So do we need just a motion, or how do we do that?
I guess ask if they have any comments.
Would in place of a cul-de-sac in that spot, would a hammerhead work there, Scott? What would your thoughts be on that? Because you suggested that to me a few weeks ago.
You could certainly do that, but that still doesn't help the fact that it's 2,600 foot dead end.
So does that leave the property owner with a landlocked property that can't be accessed?
Again, you'd have to look at your subdivision or your access, whether there's a secondary somewhere else.
A little hard with the river.
A little hard with the river, but I would say you should look at some designs that are more conforming to what you currently have.
Well, that back lot though, there's no way, you can't pick it up and move it. It is where it is. And it's not, there's already a dead end road there, so there's already a dead end road that's having to be serviced by the township.
Right, there's a dead-end road that serves that one house, but again, the length of that isn't 2,600 feet. You're extending that dead end of 65th Street.
That's on this one.
You mentioning trees would be an issue. There isn't a tree within 2,000 feet
I
of
just
that.
use that as an example, that if there's...
Well, I
something-
mean, it's, I don't know what else it'd be, that's gonna be on the road.
If you have a rainstorm and the road washes out, I don't know. I mean, you know, there's other... It's not a good situation for emergency vehicle access when you have such long dead ends. And that's the reason the township and most of the other townships around us have that 1,400-foot maximum.
So does that essentially makes that property unbuildable then?
I guess we're not obligated to, you know, make sure that you can, you know, develop each property to your maximum.
Well, that 31 acres, though, is not accessible unless that road's extended.
Again, I don't know if you could get 1 or 2 lots out of it and still not have the length. You know, I've looked at the alternatives. I guess that's something the planning commission could ask you to go back and take a look and see if there's some alternatives to what you're proposing.
Well, that's what I'm searching for, is recommendations from you as to what alternatives might
And our
satisfy.
well, our recommendation is what you have proposed isn't going to fly, at least from staff's perspective. I don't know how the planning commission feels on it. We want to let the planning commission go through it.
I think one other comment you made about the easement, how would the easement would still be preserved for the DNR land? That would not go away. It's
And I
it's
just made that
permanently there.
point that you would have to have that access.
And I don't think my sketch plan is proposing limiting that access in any way, is it?
I guess it wasn't clear from just the sketch plan. You know, it's shown on the sketch plan, so I assume you're going to preserve it, but I'm just making the point, it's something that has to be preserved. The township engineer made the same point.
As far as the lot width with the cul-de-sac, that I walked in on the discussion that you were having. Where are we at in that process of the township reviewing that? What stage are we at, Scott?
Well, as I said, you know, just a few minutes ago, we're not proposing any changes to the River Conservation District right now. Again, I believe that's taken from a model ordinance from the DNR. The reason the DNR put that ordinance together for a particular reason, and again, I haven't done any research on that, but we're not proposing any changes. So it's still
You're
remain-
proposing changes to what zoning, a specific zoning you're proposing changes to, or
No,
considering?
we're just proposing changes to how we look at the lot width for certain lots.
In a particular
But not River
zoning?
Conservation District.
A particular zoning?
Rural residential.
Yes, but we're not touching the River Conservation District.
That's what I was trying to clarify.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
We're not changing that.
I think the lot configuration, based on what I reviewed here, does have appropriate road frontage. I think there are just 2 arcs, 2 curves, making up those 2 road frontages that need to be added together. For example, lot 3 is 318 plus 14. Or is that 316 plus 14? That'd be 330. And then
It was a little confusing the way it's labeled, but I took and scaled it off and roughly came up with those. And, you know, maybe I was off a few feet.
yeah, and then
here, but-
the lot 4 looks like 56 plus 282. But I don't have a dog in this fight, I'm just saying. That's how I read it as a surveyor, that you have to add up 316 and 14. So I think those 2 lots have the frontage.
Yeah, again, in scaling off it, I came up with roughly the same amounts I did, but, you know, if they want to clarify that, they certainly could. Because it's to the center of the cul-de-sac. It's not to the edge, so I don't know if you're looking at it that way. Oh, let's see. Madam Chair, maybe if there's some discussion of the,
I think too, as far as that small outlet, we could probably deal with that by just deeding that too.
yeah, I don't have a major issue. Again, I'm just raising issues that I've seen with this
I
guy.
know.
So Madam Chair, if there's, maybe discussion amongst the planning commissioners on this before we make a motion.
Any suggestions?
I guess it's gonna have to go back, because it's not following the ordinances that we have. Yeah.
You have to bring us something that'll comply.
But not every lot is buildable. Not every piece of property is buildable.
Well, at one time, somebody in this township approved the building on that property because there's a foundation back there. And somebody had a building permit to build a home back there. And, so at one point, this township allowed that to be a buildable lot.
What side of the river are you referring to?
It'd be the east side of the river.
Yeah, that was a single-family dwelling.
Right, but it
That
didn't.
was, and it never really did get approval.
I don't know.
think
I just know there's a
I'm
foundation
familiar
back
with
there.
The one that, I think I know the one that you're referring to, next to the DNR land on the east side of the river.
Struck Davis's.
Yeah,
I don't know the history.
yeah. It did not have approval from the township.
So they just went ahead and
But
started
if-
building it?
I was building a driveway.
He was building a road there for a couple of years.
Yeah,
But the other interesting thing, if the DNR came in here and said we want a road back to their property, what would happen?
Yeah, again, that wouldn't have an outlet, or outlet to it.
Yeah, but that's neither here nor there.
But right, the difference is that they'll be putting access into a lot that's not being developed. There's no houses there, there's no one living there, it's just access for whatever
But
reason.
if they
In
they wanted a
situations where you
road,
start putting structures out there, structures catch on fire and so forth, you have to have emergency vehicle access.
yeah. I'm just curious if they had let's say they decided to put some kind of a campground or something back there, and now it has to become a township road. What happens then?
I guess we'd take a look at it if that ever happened, but that's not it, sir.
Just, yeah.
I guess there's a couple options here. You can have Scott go back and take a look and see if there's any alternatives, or you can just make a recommendation to the town board whether you're favorable to it or unfavorable to it, and then they will go on the meeting 18th. So you can either have it back, or you can send your comments on to the town board.
I would make a motion to send it back to the developer.
Yeah.
And
I
have
think
a
I will
lie.
there too.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing
Yeah.
more to talk about, it doesn't
Exactly.
comply.
Right. Town board's gonna wonder why they're looking at it.
Okay, well,
I would make that motion.
Okay.
Kathy makes a motion to
Send it back to the developer.
back to the developer.
I'll second that motion.
Carol seconds.
Before you vote on it, do I have the option to take it directly to the board, Scott? Even if they recommend against it or recommend it go back to me?
Really, actually, the town board, under the ordinance, the town board doesn't even review sketch plans. We've just been doing that just to make the town board aware of it. But I guess I would respect what the planning commission is saying, is that they would like to have you go back and take another look at it and come back.
But part of what I would like to do is actually talk to the town board about reviewing these ordinances. Not just asking for a variance, but asking them to look at the ordinances themselves.
I don't think we would be looking at the river conservation district. Again, that's well and scenic river, that gets into federal requirements. I don't think we're gonna see any changes to allowances there. I think your biggest issue, again, is your cul-de-sac and the length of the cul-de-sac.
I understand that, but isn't that a township ordinance on the length of a cul-de-sac? And I'm not talking about the
That one is, yes.
lot width. I'm understanding you're not wanting to deal with that, changing those rules because you don't wanna,
Right.
and I respect that. But doesn't the property owner have the right to go to the town board to talk to them about the length of the cul-de-sac and whether or not they want to hold
I
to
guess
that?
you should ask the planning commission if they would instead send it to the town board, or if they want you to go back. I mean, if you're gonna tell us you don't believe that there's any alternatives that you're looking at, you would prefer that the planning commission just take it right to the town board, they can certainly take that action too.
Well, it's, we obviously would have to make some adjustments, but it's the length of the cul-de-sac is the whole issue, so that's what's gotta be decided, not the configuration of anything.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the planning commission, but I can't change the length of how far that property is off of County Road 1.
I believe, and it's been a while since I've measured it off from the county website, but from 65th Street to your property line is about 1,300 feet, if I remember.
Well, that's why we did this drawing, because we were less than 1,400 feet from the existing road, which is the road of origin.
Right, but it really is from where the intersection is, where you've got, more than one access, is where you measure that from.
Right, so the only way that I can build back there is if the town board allows me a variance from their current ordinance, or they change the ordinance, because unless we go from 65th, where 65th currently ends, then I can meet the ordinance. And sending it back to me, I can't physically change the geographic location of that lot.
Gets up to planning commission, what you want to do with it. If you want to change your motion, you haven't voted on it.
That's not our problem to make that buildable. Mr. John Dell had to accept a change. Why should we give you a variance, and across the river, he has to comply?
I'm not asking you for an variance, I'm asking if I should go to the town board and speak to them. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you. I am stuck with a property that, I measured it from the existing road. Scott's going back to County Road 1.
Well,
You need to comment if you want.
if he wants to take it before the board.
Yeah, we can't stop you from going to a town board meeting and talking during open forum. That's certainly your right.
And I think I would have, if that's the case, if there's really no alternatives that he can come up with, is there the property that he could go through, work with other property owners, do larger development, whatever, that's always an option. But if that's not what he's looking at, then what I would say, you should change your motion just to have it sent to the town board.
Well, he can change the road and move the cul-de-sac up, but he'd lose a lot.
It's still.
I can't get it less than 14, I can't get down to 1,400 square.
The 1,400 is at the beginning of his property.
I don't think we're doing our job as a planning commission if we blow all our ordinances out of the water and say, okay, now we'll look at it.
Just to make them buildable.
Exactly, that's not our problem.
Well, I'm on the planning commission for Princeton, and we make variances all the time for people
We don't.
based on their circumstances, so it's not out of the question. It happens. And in this situation, I think I've got a unique situation that I would like perhaps them to look at. I don't think it's an unreasonable request of a landowner
You
to,
can go to the town board, then. I don't feel we should change your motion. It's not acceptable to any of our ordinances.
What I'm saying is, if you want to change your motion, though, then he can go directly to the town board, rather than having him come back and take a look at it, and he's not going to make any changes. That was your motion, is to have him go back and see if there's any alternatives. He's saying there's no alternatives. If that's the case, if he wants to take it directly to the town board, I would say you should take it to the town board, or recommend it to the town board.
All right. How do you feel about that?
Well, Kathy's got to take her
I
motion
know.
back.
Yeah, you got to rescind your motion.
I know, and I feel I don't want to,
She
but,
doesn't want to.
so where are we at then?
Then it stands.
Then it stands, and has come back to the,
well, you can vote it up or you can vote it down. You don't have to accept their
and you can
motion.
vote it down.
And you can go to the open forum at the town board meeting.
So if you prefer, Kathy, and if the seconder agrees to it, you could recommend that the sketch plan is written does not meet their criteria, and the planning commission does not recommend it to the planning.
I thought that was the motion.
Oh, your motion was to have him take another look at it and come
Yeah.
back to you. So if you want to make a motion to say, because of the fact that it does not meet zoning ordinance criteria, that you recommend that to the town board that it's not appropriate sketch plan. So if yours, does that make sense?
All right, so I will remove my first motion and ask the town board to review it, even though the planning commission states it does not meet our zoning ordinance, and we as a planning commission do not feel it's
It's appropriate.
suitable at this time.
And now the seconder of the motion has to agree to that.
Okay, I agree.
Okay,
Okay.
now we're good.
As stated, yeah. Any more thoughts? Discussions?
I feel like I've said enough, I'll wait for the rest.
Proceed for a vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cheryl, do you have something?
I don't right now,
I'm not gonna
thank
push it.
you.
He wants me to review it.
So we
I
will
don't know if
proceed.
there's anything else.
So all in favor of sending it on to the board?
With the understanding that we
Do not approve. Do not approve.
prove that it doesn't meet the requirements.
As it is. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I have an additional side question on this project, Scott, is that I believe the ordinance requires for a development for the road to be a tar road, correct?
It
Versus
does.
a gravel road? And I just wanted the thoughts of the planning commission, because 65th is a gravel road. Obviously, there's going to be not very many lots back there if they can even get it approved. Is that something that would be wise to maintain as a gravel road? Or have a gravel road then a stub of a tar road? Thoughts from the planning commission as to that situation?
Yeah, we would have the town engineer take a look at that. But in the case of Woods Push Lot, again, being, a situation that's on gravel, and they had a small stub with that hammerhead, they recommended that not be paved at this time. That you would bring it up to gravel standards. I would assume if this moves forward, you'd probably recommend the same thing.
Okay. Just wondering.
And Scott, if you can give me a call tomorrow and we can talk a little bit more about some of those dimensions. And maybe if you give me authorization, I can talk to your surveyor. Just so, Craig had made the point too, that maybe it wasn't very clear on that, the lengths of some of those curves, so.
Right. You certainly
Just wanna
have, you
clarify
certainly
that.
have permission to talk to the surveyor, Scott.
What's that?
You certainly have permission to
Okay.
talk to the
Very
surveyor.
good, thank you.
It'd be easier for you two of you talk than me.
So it's Brian Pearson?
It's Seth Monroe.
Seth Monroe.
Seth Monroe is the go-to guy. He's a phone number on there, it's,
Yeah. it's-
I know I've copied you on emails with Scott, with Seth's phone
Oh,
number on it
okay.
before.
Because it was signed by Brian Pearson.
yeah, he's,
Person.
yeah.
Thank you.
We'll move on to sketch plan review. Scott Moeller, 17 lot subdivision, section 27, County Road 1 at 75th Avenue, continued to the June meeting.
Yeah, this is something that has been discussed. Let's see if I find it. And the main issue was, again, we talked a little bit about this before at this meeting regarding proceeding with a review of a change to the comprehensive plan and to the zoning ordinance in order to allow essentially an R1 standard type lot in an area that's currently zoned R2 residential district and rural residential district. And the thought with the town board too is that we should take a look at not only this property, but the properties around it. There's the subdivisions, the preserve at Princeton, Spruce Haven Estates, the High Estates, Again, a lot of those were developed, a lot of those lots were developed at R1 standards or even smaller. And it may make sense to rezone those to R1 so that they are more conforming with the ordinance as opposed to being legal non-conforming lots. I mean, obviously they can exist as legal lots. So the town board at their meeting authorized us to take a look at it. I haven't done any more research on this or more work on it, so I don't have anything really new to add to this, unless you have some suggestions and so forth as I dig into the past history of it. As you dug it, copied and colored some of the background information, it's pretty clear that I'm not seeing where, it's probably through plan new development or something that these other subdivisions were allowed at smaller lots. But it seems like the zoning has always been that those two separated districts. So again, I haven't had a chance to really look at it. We've had a lot of stuff on our plate with other subdivisions, so I'm hoping to have more for you at your September meeting on this. Any questions or any thoughts on that?
So your recommendations right now is what I'm trying to get my hands on.
The recommendation on this is just be continued to the September Planning Commission meeting, allowing us to do some additional work on this.
At the original, when this was first brought to the Planning Committee, I still would like to see the road go to County Road 1. I think that's a lot of traffic going through the town. I'm just going to stress that again.
We can
Makes
certainly
sense. Makes sense to
look
bring it
at
to
it.
County Road 1. County Road. I also like the development because it's already existing, there already is existing R1 properties around there. Makes sense to build there, but I do believe the road needs to be switched to County Road 1. So of passing all that traffic through those houses.
How wide is that?
You might lose a lot.
Well, not necessarily. That's not, that's not a big issue. I mean, it is an issue, but if that makes it work better, we haven't looked at that particular part of it. You brought it up last time, Carol, and Seth just hasn't had time to work on that. And he's worked on, there'll be upholding bonds and stuff on there too.
I figure, there's gonna be at least 2 drivers probably each house, and then you got kids, and they start driving. And to pass all those people through those existing, that existing area, that's a lot. I mean, County Road 1, County Road is, it's there to take on that traffic, and they just upgraded County Road 1 not that long ago.
Yeah, no, I don't think we have any arguments with looking at that. This is what Seth did on the original thing. We really haven't, we've been going back and forth on the length of the cul-de-sac and other issues, so we haven't gotten into that part of it. I think that he would be able to get us out to 1, like you say. We may lose a lot, but maybe not either, because we're coming on 76 and curving through and cutting out a lot of it there. So if we come straight in, whether on the north side of the property or the south side, it would not necessarily lose us any.
Might have to redesign, rework it.
Yeah, those first 2 lots, I mean, it's a shame to waste those 2 first ones there because they're beautiful woods, and we don't want to hack any more than we have to of that because those are the best lots on the thing, but it probably would work as well, and it would shorten up our road too.
The sketch plan is just a concept. It's more of a night of bringing we got a zoning problem here, and the property is zoned 2 different zonings on the same parcel, and really looking for the planning commission and the town board to look at rezoning this property so that it can be developed. similar to the properties that surround it. And the sketch plan's just a drawing to look at.
Would you be able to address our resident and his concerns? at the
Certainly, there
next
would be a
one?
holding pond, obviously, that's not part of a sketch plan. And certainly the grading and so forth would be done to move the water towards that holding pond. So that, definitely would not want to contribute to your problem. And as far as coming off that cul-de-sac, that, like I said, that's just simply part of this sketch concept, more for the planning commission and the town board to look at the zoning issue that's here, and to whether or not there's an openness to make it, zone it, be similar, so that we can build homes that are similar to what the neighbors that are surrounding that property.
We all understood that, but we also do not want 50-plus cars a day. You say those 2 lots are beautiful, that's great. 2 beautiful lots, but you get 1 3-year-old walking across a cul-de-sac that used to be a cul-de-sac, it's not worth it. You lose a lot, it's the way it is. So, yes, we are all, like I said, I would have 10 property owners here. $3+ million worth of homes that will be affected by that if you're gonna go through 76. We have all banded together because we do not want it. It makes common sense to come right up on it.
We hear you. We've heard you twice now.
All right, well, I'm just making sure you guys know that.
We know it, and we said we're gonna deal with it, okay?
All right. I'll deal with it, make it right. We understood, I understand that R1 though. I'm not gonna say anything. I looked at all the plots and looked at GIS mapping, and yeah, a lot of those lots behind me are R1. The field's it's been a field for 40 years, so we understand that.
Yeah,
We got 10 new homes in our 3-block radius.
you can't stop.
It's gonna
Progress.
happen, but you just need to
No,
make sure progress happens at the right
I
way.
have a lot of farmland by me, and now there's a lot of homes. You
Yep.
can't stop.
We understand it.
But where would you put the holding pond, Scott? Any
Well, that would be
idea?
up to the surveyor to figure out where the best place to put it, so, and looking at, the nice thing is that property's pretty flat, there isn't actually any standing water on that property. As far as the property that's zoned, the portion of it that's zoned ag, that's completely unfarmable, it is not farmable land. I know it's zoned ag, but I have quite a bit of ag land that I farm, and that is not a piece that I can farm. So we're not taking any productive agriculture. That land has not been used for ag in a generation. It's been vacant land for years.
As far as drainage and stuff, how, you say there's a problem out there, but how do we make sure that
Well, we're too preliminary for it.
Okay,
It's sketch plan. So
okay.
that, obviously, if we decide to move forward with the sketch plan and then the preliminary plat, all that would have to be addressed as part of the preliminary plat.
It's all engineered.
It's all engineered.
We have an engineer that would be
They would
figuring
have an
it out.
engineer to take a look at it, and then our township engineer would look at it.
As far as coming off County Road 1, I don't have a problem with that. We have access to County Road 1. If that's what needs to happen, that's what needs to happen.
All United States too.
Have you inquired at all with the county as far as access points and?
No, we haven't yet.
Because there'll be some
We're
separation.
trying to get
I noticed a lot to the north.
zoning issues resolved first.
Yeah. Did that existing, was it trailer house, whatever, did that have access off of
That cul-de-sac. So there's an abandoned, probably 150-year-old house on that property that has got access to County Road 1, that's their driveway. It's
So
grown
that
over.
driveway's still there?
What's
That
that?
driveway's still there?
Well, in theory.
In theory.
And then the trailer house had access to the cul-de-sac. The trailer house has been, boy, I don't know how long, that was not lived in decades.
35 years, I think.
So, this is an abandoned, very junky property that needs to be developed and cleaned up. But you gotta make it economically viable to clean it up.
So I guess the action, unless anyone else has anything else, is just to continue this discussion to your September meeting.
I would make that motion.
Continue this until September.
Yes.
September meeting.
I second.
Cheryl and Kathy seconds. Any more discussion on that? If not, we can vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Scott, zoning and subdivision ordinance amendments, lot width, cul-de-sacs, minimum buildable acres, and subdivision.
Right. As we were discussing previously, I wanted to do a little bit more looking at, taking another look at that front yard versus a setback line as far as where you measure from, and come back to you on that. So let's hold on that, but is there any other comments you might have about cul-de-sacs or buildable acres, or maybe the process? And give me some direction. Again, we don't have any pending subdivisions where this would be really impacted, and so I don't have a problem continuing it for 1 more month.
You don't want to move it to the town board yet, then?
No, I don't think so. I'd like to still take another look at that.
Okay.
On page 4, Scott, you have a note here that we should discuss whether amending this provision is necessary in regard to the commercial industrial district.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I guess I'm just wondering if by changing this, I don't want to inhibit a company's ability to do their business if someone would come in and, industrial or...
Yeah, I think it makes more sense, again, that we take out that language related to curbs, especially with the
Okay.
industrial, commercial type of development. So I don't have a concern with that, but I want to make sure that the planning commissioner was aware that we're doing that, and again, making it consistent with it.
If I could make one comment on that. If Highway 169 would have been straight north and south through the country, it would be easier to avoid a curved service road. But being as 169 is kitty corner, that throws all the lots into triangles and stuff, so there's gotta be some leeway so a guy can develop lots in the commercial zone. Instead of being, it just takes a little more thought process. If things were nice and square, it'd be simple. But the country's not square because of 169 or the railroad originally, so just a thought on that.
Wouldn't there still be, because it does follow the highway, so there would still be the same amount of space as it
Well,
pertains to where the highway is going,
as
right?
one example, we have a 25-acre field just north of A to Z restaurant or supply. On the south end, it's probably 200 feet wide. On the north end, it's almost a 40, which would be 1,300 feet wide. So it's a big pie is
Yeah.
what it is. So if you come from the south with a service road and hope to develop lots on both sides of the service road, you gotta start with the service road way to one side, and then it kind of meanders. So now you've created more pie-shaped lots because you just got a lot more space on the north than you do on the south. And I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
But there's gotta be a little leeway somehow to fix these triangular things. Not that I'm gonna do anything in that. If it's not the near future, I'll die old age before I get to it, so, and that'll probably happen.
Any other thoughts?
I would make a motion to move it to September for further review. The whole process.
We have one motion, anybody want to second that motion?
Yeah, whatever, we do that.
Scott wants
Kathy.
more.
I want to take a little bit more time to look at that front lot line versus the, at the.
Oh, what,
Yeah.
From what Craig
Craig
said.
said?
Yeah.
I would second it.
Okay.
Sorry, guys, I just,
Yeah.
you know, we
Can't
keep
have
getting
too
that
much,
question,
yeah.
and I just wanted to look back and forth at it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I'll talk again to Dan about it, see what he thinks.
We wanna do it right.
Any more thoughts?
I just wanted to know why.
Okay. Ready to make that vote? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, made.
Made.
Need a second.
Second.
Oh, you seconded it.
Carol.
Okay.
We're adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh,
Thank
and just to
you.
know, it's next Tuesday next month because of Labor Day. Our meeting's on the 8th.
It's good to know, yeah.
Okay.
Labor Day's on the 7th.
I'd just like to point out, ladies, that the last page in Scott's 17 lot subdivision, if you look on there, it shows the Rolling Meadows development on that map.
Thanks for your comments.
I talked to Seth before I got here, so.
Oh, okay. Appreciate it, yeah.
You know, I went back and looked at some of Dan's emails.